used pepper spray. I was beaten. Pointed it at me.
Very many journalists were beaten. Caned.
We shall beat you for your own sake.
They're going to be beaten and many will probably be killed.
Just live bullets flying. None of us was sure we were going to survive. I strongly believe it was a target. I strongly believe it was a target. I strongly believe it was a target.
The two main candidates for the Ugandan presidency.
Today we look ahead to January the 14th and Uganda's presidential election.
The government faces protests and widespread condemnation.
The new face of Uganda's opposition.
I was assigned to join the campaign trail of the National Unity Platform flag bearer, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu.
From start, we just knew we were heading for the worst, because as he was moving from Kampala, moving through Luweero, going to Arua, I just imagine it's not going to be like the normal campaigns. It wasn't business as usual.
I joined the trail 2 days after it had started. We found the team had already left Lira and Gulu, so they were coming towards Teso sub-region, and particularly we found them in Katakwi. The first thing that welcomed me and my camera person was a canister, a tear gas canister, thrown right at our car that we were just leaving. It's a public car, and the tear gas canister landed right there, and we had to scamper for our own safety.
The sounds of tear gas, the sounds of the bullets. It was my first time coming across this explosive. Is it called the sound bomb? That was really something that scared me for the months, 2.5 months that I was on the campaign trail.
There was no single day we did not inhale tear gas. There was no single day I did not hear a bullet. There's no single day I did not hear a tear gas canister. After a couple of days, we came to Luka, and that's one of the days that still stuck in my mind. I saw real confrontation and brutality.
During that operation, I realized being a journalist on the trail of the National Unity Platform was really a tough one.
I mean, yes, they wanted to arrest the politician, who is Bobi Wine, and so they did. For you to have a camera just pointed at a police officer was a big crime on that day. The journalists who were holding cameras were directly attacked.
That day, that's when Kasiri, our colleague Kasiri, was first hurt. You know, he was moving on top of one of the vehicles there, and the field force guy grabbed him, pulled him down, and used the pepper spray into his eyes.
My eyes were already irritating. So I told all of them that I'm a journalist. You guys should stop irritating me. I'm a journalist. So one of them was like, no, you should calm down, this and that, you should calm down, you should not cover this. Then another one came and started stabbing me in the stomach. At that time I was holding myself on the vehicle with this hand while this one was holding my phone. So one other guy, one of the bodyguards said, Ashraf, give me that phone, you can't hold it anymore. I gave him the phone. I started holding, I continued holding myself on the vehicle. Then another one came and started opening my mouth by force. I continued tying it, is that right? Tying it right, as in something like that. So, but the guy was so strong. He opened it and another person came and sprayed tear gas into my mouth. So by that time I couldn't understand anything. So the guy was like, when sprayed in my mouth, I locked up my what's that? This thing.
Your throat.
Yeah, I so that I don't swallow the stuff. But someone was hitting me in the stomach. Hard, until I opened my throat and I swallowed the stuff. By that time I couldn't understand anything. By that time I think. So that's when, of course I was hearing everything that was going on, but I couldn't understand anything because I couldn't see anything. And also I was struggling inside my stomach. I thought something was eating up my intestines. And by that time the police officers left me and I pulled off this what is it called?
Helmet.
Yes, thank you. I pulled it off and threw it away and someone carried me. Yeah. Some guy took me in one of the hospitals that was there. They tried to take care of me, but of course it wasn't possible because there were no hospital. There were no what's that? There were no medicines, and some other guy called Sempebwa came and brought his car, and they brought me to Ginger. So the doctor were like, if these guys had taken you to what's that called? Cells? If these guys had arrested you after doing all this to you and taken you to the cells, you wouldn't have survived from there.
On 27th December 2020, Kyagulanyi had just finished church from Kitovu Cathedral. We're going to Gomba district. Unfortunately, when we were just exiting Masaka town, there was a very big roadblock involving the police, the army. So the deployment was really heavy and the roadblock was very huge.
We came out of our cars, we held our cameras, everyone put on their bulletproof vests, written on well-branded press. Everyone held anything that could identify them as journalists. So because we knew that was a time when police would not be very, very quick to identify who a journalist is from the common people. And so you needed something that would put you, would identify you easily.
Ashraf was live streaming all the events that would happen to Kyagulanyi. Unfortunately, on that day, Ashraf was hit. Up to now, I don't understand whether it was a rubber bullet or it was a tear gas canister, but really it was traumatizing for me. That was my worst experience.
I saw with my eyes Enoch Abaini stretching his hand with a tear gas, either a tear gas canister or a bullet, a rubber bullet, stretched his hand and aimed at Ashraf from close range, hit him on the head.
Ashraf was bleeding seriously. Everybody was crying. They thought he had died. But when they brought Ashraf near us, they were crying because we needed to take him to the hospital. Majority of our colleagues didn't know the main hospital, so I told them, guys, don't cry, Ashraf is still alive.
They carried Ashraf. As they were coming, tear gas intensified. They tried to put him into a police car that was waiting by. Police refused to drive the car to take him to hospital. They tried to put him into another car. I don't know whether it was a private car or what. They refused to drive it away. So the only option they had was to bring him to the car that we were using, that was the NTV car.
We rushed to Masaka District Hospital. Actually, it's a referral hospital. We took Ashraf to hospital, but along the way, he was just bleeding. You could see someone losing life in a blink of an eye, and that was, I don't know what was giving me the courage, but deep down, I believed Ashraf is going to make it. God was great. We reached Masaka Hospital. The medical attendants gave us attention because we had a branded car, so they knew we were just saving lives. We were not into the political chaos and all that. They attended to Ashraf, and later Bobi Wine had to suspend his campaigns to attend to Ashraf because Ashraf was just at the top of his car. So it means had the target missed Ashraf, possibly it could have been Honorable Kyagulanyi. So I'm very happy that God gave Ashraf a second chance.
There is this regional police commander from Abaine, Enoch Abaine. He was just a few meters from me. So he pointed that launcher, the tear gas launcher. I thought the guy was joking, by the way. I thought the guy was joking. He pointed it at me, shouting collateral damage. For me, I thought, we've been through these things, and why would he shoot me? I've done nothing wrong. I don't know what had just gone into the guy's head. And direct, he shot at me here, upper thigh. By the way, I still have the scar. I still have that scar. And all of a sudden, the guy wanted to shoot the second time. So his colleagues, I remember Mochivi from the Field Force Unit, there is another guy from the Special Forces Command, SFC, and the counterterrorism officers tried to restrain the guy, but he couldn't listen. He fired again. Luckily, I had moved and it exploded somewhere. And, I'm just so lucky to be standing here and talking to you people. Had the canister exploded on my leg, maybe it would have been a different story. Maybe I would be on crutches, maybe I would be in a wheelchair, or maybe I would be some good meters into the ground.
When we went back to Masaka to report Ali Mivle's case, the police officers refused to enter his case because it was involving their senior, and that was the RPC. So it is very disappointing. The second traumatizing experience was in Kalangala on 30th December. A military officer intentionally threw a tear gas canister I remember Abubakar of the Daily Monitor was down taking pictures. He was squatting, and I was just near him. Other colleagues were behind us. I was taking a video with my phone. So the man threw a canister just in front of Abubakar. It was luck that he saw it. We all saw it because we knew we were expectant. So he threw it just in front of him, a tear gas canister, and we all had to scatter. But remember, we couldn't run very far because where we were supposed to run to, again, there were just bullets pushing away the people, dispersing the supporters of Kyagulanyi.
Bobi Wine on that day, I remember, also was picked and put onto a plane and flown back to Kampala. But during the arrest of Bobi Wine and his supporters, journalists were also arrested. The first journalist that was arrested is called Richard Kalema. Richard Kalema is attached with Ghetto and does things with the other media houses. So he was picked and he was asked why he was doing having a live stream. He was live streaming the whole event and how issues were happening.
5 armed military men came and picked me. When they picked me, well, I wasn't shaken. Like I was just expectant because it was about picking whoever. Like I earlier said, everybody was a target on that campaign trail. So they came and picked me. My colleagues shouted, she's a journalist, she's a journalist. The Kyagulanyi supporters shouted, release Nakamya, she's innocent. They took me where Kalema was. As they were questioning me, they were questioning why I had posted on my social media that Honorable Kyagulanyi had been arrested. I insisted and I made it strongly clear that Kyagulanyi was a suspect at that time, was in their hands. So they said, why do you make our work so hard? You make a lot of social media updates. Why do you make our work so hard? I asked them, what crime have I committed? They said, you're making our work so hard. You're inciting violence. Can you identify yourself? At that time, I had my phone with me. So when they said, identify yourself, I called my colleague to pick my identity card from the car. In the meantime, I had to post on my social media quickly that I'm not safe, I've been arrested. But then I was wondering, I think they were just buying time, because how do you ask for someone's identity, yet you're trailing their social media platforms? In about 10 minutes, they came for another colleague of ours, Derek Wandera.
So they came, picked me, they asked me, are you live streaming? No. What are you doing with your phone? I said, no, this is my phone, just making calls, supposed to be making calls and all that. So the officer took me, told me to sit down. And I came to learn that he had known me, because when I reached there, he asked me, are you Derek Wandera? I said, yes. Are you from Daily Monitor? I said, yes. He told me, give me your ID. I gave him my ID. When he read my ID, he said, exactly, you're the person I've been looking for. And at that point, that's when I got my my charge sheet. He told me, you have been profiling officers who are doing their duty. You've been writing bad stories about them. You've been putting them in the limelight, which has endangered their livelihoods, their lives, and the lives of the family, because they are doing their job. And he asked me, why do you keep doing that? I said, but I'm trained to write about anyone and anything that I find is newsworthy. He told me that's not it. So he was holding my phone. He went and picked another freelance journalist whom he said was doing live streaming. So he came, and he gave me my phone and he told me, now you might even be profiling me, you might even be recording me. From here, this is what you're going to write in your next issue. Can you break your phone and give me your memory card? I told him I can't break my own phone. He told me you're going to break your phone. And I saw him reaching out for his gun. I said, now what's wrong with this guy? So I felt for me to have peace, I broke my own phone. And I didn't have a memory card in it. So I told him I don't have a memory card. I was using the phone memory to record whatever I was recording and whatever I was doing. So I was together with 3 others, taken onto a waiting police patrol and driven to Kalangala police station. I spent there about 4 hours, but those 4 hours were like 2 years in my head. So I went, that room, I remember it was about 13 by 12 decimals. Very small room, but we were packed there more than 30 of us. You could hardly breathe. And just next to where I was seated was an open toilet that could not flush, an open toilet that was going where people were going each and every minute. It was a very, very bad scenario for me. And my crime was, and I came to know, doing my job.
It is the media targeting security. The media would like to portray security as being brutal, as being against the government itself. I think this is very unfortunate and we must put it clear.
Our press rights were violated, our human rights were violated, but like I said, these campaigns were just between life and death.
We are trying to protect your lives. We are telling you there's a danger there. For you are insisting you must go where there's a danger. Yes, we shall beat you for your own sake. To help you understand that don't go there. Yes, we shall use reasonable force to ensure that you don't go where there's a risk.
It is very unfortunate that up to now, there is no justice, there is no accountability.
Actually, you are saying, is the police apologizing for mishandling journalists? My answer is, I'm very sorry, excuse me, we shall not apologize. But we shall continue helping you not to go where danger is.
There's generally regulatory overreach by different institutions, and if we do not come to address those issues, we are going to see a degeneration of rights. We are going to see people like the IGP get away with statements that, will beat the media, will beat journalists for your own good, and then he'll laugh about it and journalists will record it and, move on. He needs to come to account, because if the IGP is telling his people, beat these journalists, then they're going to be beaten and many will probably be killed, because that's a clear indication of an order from above.
There is a very big gap between the journalists that are normally beaten in the field and their employers, the boardrooms. So this gap between the newsrooms and the boardroom is making the situation even worse. For instance, it's only journalists that speak out for and on behalf of themselves. And the mere fact that there is no critical voice from the owners, no critical voice from the assigning entities, the editors, no critical voice from the managers, and that there are no strong institutions or organizations within those frameworks to take on the bull by its horns. We still see a lot of these things happening until the editors, the managers, and the owners woke up to their realization of their task, to say that they are into the media, they have massively invested in there, and they must strictly and strongly come out to defend this space called press freedom.
As investigators, I think by now we should be seeing a story of who are these, what's the history of these individual police officers or army officers who are torturing and beating up journalists. If we start to isolate those individuals, then perhaps it will send a message to the rest of the army officers and the police officers and security agencies. So it's very interesting that in a group it's easy for you to break the law, but when you're identified as an individual and we take you through the process of the law and then you're held to account, we attach your property, everything that you own is sold to compensate the journalist, then we'll start to see appreciation of the role of media by these security officers. And I think going forward, we should start a conversation where we entrench media rights within the police curriculum.
I don't know what prompted the IGP to say such words, because you can't tell me, we are a friendly force. We are called friendly force, the journalists and the police. You can't treat a friendly force like that. There was no justification whatsoever to beat us up.
If by now no one has been arrested for torturing us, not me only, Kato or Busoga was arrested, was tortured, Chitimbo Thomas was tortured, very many people were tortured. No police officer has been arrested. And even when we call upon the government to do that, they don't even respond to you.
We want to call upon the IGP that really you shouldn't go down in history as someone who set up this precedent.
Trust me, most people couldn't come and cover in the camp of the National Unity Platform. People were fearing because of what they were seeing on TV, bullets, tear gas, and after the massacre incident. Most of the guys couldn't dare to come and cover. So it sets a very, very bad precedent to the journalists, most especially those that are covering opposition.
You cannot tell me there is any difference between the war in Central African Republic, between the wars we've been watching in South Sudan, and the campaign trail of Honorable Kyagulanyi. I don't think there is any difference. So, no, I don't think I can cover any other presidential campaign.
After that, I started getting calls, people looking for me, people saying, we know where you are, we are coming for you, you should stop. So that has affected me in especially my personal security and the security of my family.
We are not enemies of the state. We are just doing our job, and don't kill the messenger.
It is not very late for the media in Uganda to rise up.
These police officers and army officers who have gone on to torture journalists one day pay for it.
The journalists are very determined to pursue justice. I really make an appeal to the judiciary to play their custodial role of expanding justice to the journalists, because all they have is running to court. They don't have the coercive arms of government. They only can run to pursue justice in the judicial courts in Uganda. We hope that will happen.